know such an animal existed. Okay? The word Kawati Mundi doesn't come from our language. It may be a new word to you, and that's understandable. It comes from a dead language. A language spoken hundreds of years ago by the Tupi tribe in the rainforest. The first part, Kawati, means the lonely animal. Okay, because these guys, once they're 2 years old, they like to be solitary and by themselves. Does that mean that they're lonely? No, people don't like to be by themselves when they're adults very much, but these guys do, and so that's what it means. The lonely animal, and the Mundi part means everywhere, because they see them everywhere in the rainforest. It's also the only member of the raccoon family that is active during the day. Do you guys know what we call animals that are active during the day? Yes. You were very enthusiastic with the hand.
It's hard to pronounce. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Nocturnal or active at night.
Well, nocturnal is the raccoon's daily habits, what we call habits that coincide with circadian pattern, the rhythm of sunset and sunrise and so on. Nocturnal would be an animal that's sedentary during the day and active at night. What's the opposite of that, though? Can anybody help them out? Help them out? You got any teachers here? Are you a teacher? No. And even if I was, I'm not going to admit it. Because I don't know the answer.
No, I don't.
You're afraid to guess and be wrong, aren't you? You know what I like to say? I like to set a good example for kids in learning, saying, please don't ever afraid to try or guess and be wrong. Okay? Because you know what? Teachers used to stand in front of their students and say, all right, class, the earth is flat. And the stars and the sun and the planets revolve around Earth as the center of the universe. Were they right? Actually, let me argue this. Based on what they knew back then, they were. But then they learned more about the planet, and as they explored more about the planet and outer space, they found out that what they thought was right wasn't entirely correct. So when you guess something, when I ask you to guess, don't be afraid to say what you're thinking. Because based on what you know when you came to school today, you're right. But sometimes we have a learning opportunity and we can become more correct. For example, let's see if we know what this animal is. This is going to be a more easy one that most of you have seen before. Okay, so let's just lay the foundation for learning here. Raise your hand if you have seen one of these before. All right, all hands down. Who believes, from looking at it from where you are, that this is a crocodile? Good, all hands down. Who believes it's an alligator? Good, all hands down. Who thinks it's a crocagator? Tricked you on that one. Who thinks it's a bird? Now I'm getting silly, right? Okay, actually, that's not so far off. Who thinks it's a dinosaur? Yeah, it looks like one, kind of, huh? Okay. So this animal here is an American alligator. It's one of our zoo's small American alligators that came to us as a confiscation from the black market. He's had a little bit of a tough life, but he's going to have a nice long, a good fighting chance to live a nice long life like these guys normally do, if they're lucky enough to get this big, which thankfully he has been. Now in nature, a mommy alligator will have anywhere from a couple of dozen to maybe just over 50 eggs at a time. And from each one of those eggs will hatch a little baby, cute little dinosaur. And mommy has tons of little babies because she knows that being as good of a mommy as she is, no offense to the mommies here, but alligator mommies are great mommies. Okay, I mean, they will lay their eggs, they will cover them up, they will stand guard over the nest the whole time those babies grow in the eggs. Then as they hatch out, they'll go dig them out, they'll carry them down to the water, they'll watch over them, all this time barely eating a thing, hardly getting any rest. And all of this work, because you guys are like, dude, I don't sleep, I watch over them, all this is not unfamiliar. What she has to face is, first of all, she had like 50 of them. They don't all stay real close to you. They wander off and get into danger and trouble sometimes. But here's the reality. 9 out of 10 of them aren't going to grow up to be teenagers. Or the equivalent, about 4 feet long. If they're lucky enough to get about 4 feet long, then they'll probably live a nice long life under normal circumstances. But 9 out of 10 baby alligators aren't ever meant to grow up. They're there to be food for other things. And that's the reality of nature and animals that reproduce and maintain their species with that particular strategy of having lots of babies and hoping some of them get the chance to survive. Okay, so this is the American alligator. These guys are going to be threatened quite a bit by a couple of things these days. They used to be an endangered species when I was your age. They're not endangered anymore. They're still protected because they look very similar. What does that mean? Similar means alike, almost the same. That's right. They look very similar to the critically endangered American crocodile. Okay, so they are still protected. People can't just hurt them just because they see them like they used to. Like, it's an alligator, I'm afraid of it. Let's hurt it because I'm afraid it's going to hurt me. The alligators want to hurt people. Alligators just want you to leave them alone. And that's the same rule with most of the animals that live around here. Okay, accidents where people get hurt by alligators are very rare and almost always the person's fault. Right? Because we need to respect the boundary, especially when it comes to what we call apex predators, the boundary between nature and safe interaction with animals and keeping a safe distance. Yes, go ahead.
But still, a mama crocodile will kill you if it sees you near its nest.
Especially if you're messing with her babies. That's right. Like any good mommy, she's going to protect her kids. Let me walk the alligator around so you guys can see it a little bit more up close. Take a picture if you want.
I'm not doing that.
I'm just going to walk right by you.
Make sure you count your fingers after you're done with it, right?
Its favorite food, whatever it can catch. What's that? It can sting, yeah. I've been hit in some pretty vulnerable places before, and it's debilitating. Nope, actually crocodilians, and this is more recent understanding of their abilities and their nature, crocodilians are approximately the same intelligence as cats. One of the few animals that we currently call reptiles that have the ability to plan and strategize things in the future, work together as a group. Hi, how you doing? Sit down. Don't wave at the animals, please. Thank you. They have the ability to remember things for long periods of time, and very few reptiles can do any of that. In fact, one thing we found out really recently is that we shouldn't even be calling these guys reptiles. When you look at it, like people have for generations in the past, and you see that it's covered with scales, and it's got claws and arms and a tail, you think it kind of looks like a lizard, and you definitely think this should be a reptile. I mean, it's not a mammal, is it? It's not a bird, is it? It's certainly not a fish, even though it does spend time in water. And would you call it something like a frog or an amphibian?
Yes.
No. It's amphibious. That's your habits. Can you be on water? Sure. Can you be on land? Sure. So you're amphibious. You can go in both. But that makes it different from an amphibian. We'll meet one of those in a little bit. Okay? But what we know from looking beyond the scales and the tails and looking at its DNA, kind of like the instruction manual for having one of these and seeing how to make it and so on, its DNA has shown us that this is actually more closely related to birds. This animal is far more closely related to birds than lizards, snakes, turtles, or any different type of reptile. So scientists are actually making a huge argument right now to create a whole new group of vertebrates just for the crocodilians. That is our American alligators. Please say goodbye to the alligator properly.